Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter Show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Joe Habib. And we have a great show for you today. And if you want to call in and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. And we'll be here till about 9 o'clock tonight. And today, we're going to talk about Tim Bradley going deep on Gervonta Davis, trashed him. We'll tell you all about it. And will Andre Ward come out of retirement to face Canelo Alvarez? I don't know. We'll talk about that too. But first, we get started with the fight of the week. And no, it's not the one you're thinking of. On DAZN, Naoya Inoue versus Nonito Donaire for the IBF, the WBA Bantamweight titles in the World Boxing Super Series final. The trophy, the Muhammad Ali trophy on the line here. Tell you what, man. This may have been the fight of the year. 22,000 people. Let that sink in. So yesterday in the Staples Center, they had the Logan Paul KSI fight. 10,000 people packed in there, 10,000 plus, which is a great turnout. 22,000 turned out in Japan to see Naoya Inoue beat Nonito Donaire by unanimous decision by the scores of 117-109, 116-111, and 114-113. It was, I tell you what, it was an amazing fight, man. I expected Inoue to just steamroll Donaire. Obviously, that didn't happen. Donaire was able to put things together, put everything together in this fight, man. He had Inoue scouted, I thought. I thought he did a great job. He took a lot of his shots, but let's remember, too, Donaire was the bigger man. You know, he was coming down in weight. He was the bigger man. So he had a lot for Inoue, man. But in power-wise, I tell you what, it was a left hook in the second round. Because I gave that first round to Inoue, and then the second round was table kind of shifted a little bit there, and man, Donaire landed that left hook, caught him flush right above the eye, cut him open, and this was really the first time we've ever seen Inoue face any kind of adversity in the ring, and man, he answered. Both fighters showed a lot of heart. Inoue caught Donaire with a body shot in the 11th that put him down. Donaire was obviously able to get back up and finish. After the fight, the two showed really great sportsmanship, man. This was really, really something. Donaire later posted on social media that Inoue actually let him take the Muhammad Ali trophy home to his kids for a day, and so that he could keep his promise to him. And, of course, the promise was Donaire told his kids that, I promise you I will bring the trophy home tomorrow. And so that he didn't break his promise to him. He let him take that trophy home, which I thought was just an amazing, amazing thing. The only real drawback to this whole thing was that it took place on Thursday morning. But I got to be honest, man, I didn't really hate it. You know, I mean, I turned it on right about the 8th round or whatever and watched the rest of the fight. Then I went back and rewatched it or whatever. But I tell you what, my morning got off to a great start. I didn't mind it at all, man. Beeb, you saw this fight. You saw Inoue go through Payano. You saw him go through Emmanuel Rodriguez. I thought both of those guys were going to be a big challenge for him, and not at all. I mean, he took both of them clean out. What were your thoughts on this fight here with Donaire?
Listen, I am not going to Monday morning quarterback this at all. Okay, let's keep it real. I think both of us thought Inoue was going to walk through Donaire.
Not me. I had Donaire putting up a good fight, going the distance fight.
And I love Donaire. I love Donaire as a person. I love him as a fighter. We used to interview him on Rope-A-Dope Radio a lot, and he's a great guy, great family man. His wife Rachel is phenomenal. But the thing is, you know, he has lost a step. He's 36 years old. And he seems like he reinvented himself as he dropped back down to 118. He went up to 122, and he just wasn't big enough. He couldn't deal with the power of those guys. And he's always been known for his explosiveness, his fast twitch, muscle fiber type explosiveness. He's always been an in and out type fighter, and he's always been known for his left hook. But he's kind of added a wrinkle to his game, because now I think he realizes that he has to get a little bit more crafty in there, and that's what I think he's done since he dropped down to 118. Even if you look at that Ryan Burnett fight, when Ryan Burnett hurt himself and he could not continue, Donaire was in that fight. That fight was very competitive. You could say that it was even, or Burnett was slightly up. But one thing he did in that fight, he also did in this fight. Like I said, he's been known for his left hook, but if you notice in this fight, you see how many times he kind of threw that little foot, head and shoulder feint like that.
Yeah.
Boom, and he was throwing the lead right hand. So because he's lost a step a little bit, now he's got to throw a feint to try to get you to react, so he can freeze the guy instead of just beat it. Before, he could beat you to the punch a lot of times, and he would kind of leap in, and then he would kind of crank up that left hook, and that was the thing. Everyone was looking out for the big left hook of Nonito Donaire. So now he's throwing that little feint before he comes in, and he's throwing that lead right hand, and it's like an off-speed right hand. So now he's getting a little more creative. He's a little more versatile with the offense. And now there's times too when he'll loop that right hand, and, so he's really added that wrinkle where he's setting up the left hook with the right hand. Before, he was just kind of like throwing a rangefinder jab, and then he would leap in and then crank up the left hook. Now he's kind of, like I said, throwing the feints. Now he's trying to like set the left hook up off the lead right hand now, and a lot of guys, I think, are falling for the feints. So I think Inoue was having a little bit of trouble with that right hand early, in spots. I had this fight very close. I had it 7-5 in rounds, but I ended up scoring at 115 and 112 for Inoue, because you mentioned that Inoue has never faced adversity before. Well, he did face adversity in this fight, as we all know.
Absolutely.
But he overcame it.
Yes.
I gave him the last 3 rounds. I think he showed a champion's heart by winning the last 3 rounds. Now, what he was starting to do is he was starting to, pick up on the feint a little bit, but he was also stepping. If you notice, he was stepping around Donaire, and he was, cranking up his shots at an angle. So he was stepping off to the side, and he was on the shoulder of Donaire on either side instead of standing right in front of him. So what he started doing later in the fight is he started stepping off to the side, stepping around Donaire, and kind of throwing his punches from an angle. And once he started making that adjustment, he was able to land, and he was able to evade Donaire's right hand because he was off to the side now, and Donaire was not in position to land that right hand anymore. So that was a great adjustment he made. And, he's known for his power and his explosiveness. Both guys are. But both guys showed some really good boxing IQ in this fight, because both guys made adjustments. Both guys showed a little bit of craftiness to their game. It was just that what happened was that left hook to the body when Donaire went down in that 11th round, I think that kind of took the wind out of his sails, and that was like the end of the adjustments he could make, because at that point I think he was spent. So I just think that the younger Inoue, stepped on the gas the last 3 rounds, and he pulled this fight out, because this fight was on the table before the championship round started.
Yeah, I think so too. And according to the scorecards, it really was.
Yeah.
I was impressed. Like I said, sometimes you see a guy. Listen, not every shot you throw is going to drop that guy. Not every shot you throw just because you're knocking everybody out. Just like we talk about Deontay Wilder, man. Somebody is going to be able to take that shot. I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody will take it. Tyson Fury. And we know that Deontay Wilder's got like the heart of a lion. Yeah, we know Tyson Fury does too, Yeah. So what are you going to do when you got a guy like that who's knocking what are you going to do when that guy takes your power? And I think this was a perfect example. I mean, it really was, Well,
not only that, Eric, again, this is cliche, but styles make fights.
Yeah.
So Inoue could go out there and fight someone that's perceived to be tougher than Donaire and blow him out of there because just the style matchup suits him, right?
Right.
This could have just been a bad style matchup for him.
Who did Donaire? Now Donaire beat Mikey Burnett, but that was by a
Ryan Burnett, actually.
Ryan Burnett. I'm sorry, Mikey
Correct.
Burnett's a fighter. He's an MMA guy. Let me see here.
That's how he won the title. Huge. He was a huge underdog, but again, like I said, he was still in that fight. He was landing shots. He was hurting Burnett in that fight.
So, I'm looking at the bracket now. Inoue fought Carlos Payano, Juan Carlos Payano, who I was very high on at the time.
Yeah.
Very high on him. I thought that Inoue would win, but I thought he was going to give him. I mean, this was going to be a real litmus test to see where he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he just 30 seconds and demolished that guy. You could have made a commercial out of that fight. The next one was a semifinal against Emmanuel Rodriguez, who I'm very high on as well.
Yeah.
And I thought Emmanuel Rodriguez was the guy to do it. In fact, I think I may have picked Emmanuel Rodriguez to win everything. I don't know.
We both did, yeah.
But I know I picked Emmanuel Rodriguez in that fight, and he got flattened in 2 rounds.
I did as well. But here's the ironic thing. You just mentioned Payano and Rodriguez. Now let me ask you an honest question. If both those guys were fighting Donaire, would you favor those guys over Donaire?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It was a no-brainer.
So he had a tougher, perception-wise, he had a tougher road to the finals than the actual guy he fought in the finals, perception-wise.
Yeah. And I mean, he didn't Tete get hurt or something like that? Tete pulled out, right?
Yeah, now Tete's calling him out. But again, that's a bad style matchup for Tete.
Right. Well, here it is. Look, I mean, so Ryan Burnett and Nonito Donaire, I think I had Ryan Burnett to win that fight. I had him to win it easy. And then I remember this, Zolane Tete and Nonito Donaire. I remember because Georgie, I think me and Georgie had like a pseudo bet on this at and I had Tete, of course, and Georgie had Donaire, but the fight never took place.
Yeah.
Because I thought Zolane Tete is going to walk that whole bracket. That's an easy bracket. He's going to fight,
You want to talk about dark horse? Donaire was the epitome of the word dark horse in this tournament,
right? Yeah. I mean,
and this is no shade on Donaire. It's just that I just thought these guys had more in the tank. They were in their prime, and Donaire wasn't. You know what I mean? And just I don't know. I guess age is not. I guess age ain't nothing but a number, like they say.
Yeah, I mean it's terrible. It's crazy, man. It's like, and you look at it. Like I said, I mean he beat Ryan Burnett. He didn't fight anybody to get in the finals. His guy pulled out, so it's not his fault. They couldn't put anything together. So Inoue's going to walk this fight. I mean, Inoue knocks this guy out within 6 rounds, man. What? This fight went the distance. First of all, if you'd have told me on Wednesday that this fight goes the distance, after I got done laughing, I'd be like, no way. And then if you tell me the fight was competitive, and in like the last 3 rounds, I mean, he's got a shot? Really? No way, man.
I got to be honest, I didn't see it coming.
I didn't see it either. I didn't see this at all. At all. I didn't see him getting past Tete. I didn't see him getting past Burnett. And then you could even make the argument because Burnett got hurt in that fight. Wasn't his arm was hurt or whatever, and he had to retire?
No, he hurt. I think he hurt his hip or something, or his one of his a back muscle or something.
Yeah, and I knew it was something like that. But he was getting touched up. I mean, it wasn't a good fight for Burnett. I mean, I was surprised at how well Nonito did in that fight.
Yeah, Burnett was struggling in that fight.
He was, and I expected Burnett to win that fight. I'm like, man, he better get it together over here, He ends up going out on an injury or whatever. The Tete fight, he goes out on injury, can't fight. And we end up with this final, and I'm like, he's starching this dude. There's no way.
Yeah.
And, man, sure enough, man. But the one thing I didn't take into account is that he was the bigger guy. He was coming down in weight. He was the bigger guy. But, honestly, for me, Donaire's career ended against that loss with Rigo. I mean, his aura was busted in that fight. I mean, when Rigo beat him and just like whitewashed that kid, I mean, that fight wasn't even close.
That fight was at 122.
Wasn't even close.
Once Donaire moved up from 118 to 122, it's been a rocky road for him.
Yeah. But he moved back down to 118 for this tournament, man, and what a tournament. Yeah. Jeez, what a tournament. I mean, when I saw the names, I saw Burnett, I saw Tete, I saw Rodriguez, I saw Inoue, I saw Peano in there. Honestly, and I completely, as far as like Donaire, just kind of shuffled him to the side, you know? But those were big names in this thing. Yeah. How could this be a bad thing? How could anybody hate this?
No, it was a good tournament.
It was awesome, man. And then you look at the super lightweights. You got Prograis, Flanagan, Relic, Troyanovsky, who I'm a big fan of, Josh Taylor. I mean, you know, you had all these guys. I mean, and people like dump all over this tournament and stuff. I don't get it, man. I love this. Is the best thing to happen to boxing in a long time. It really is.
Yeah.
Are these tournaments, man? They're great. They really are.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. So Luis Neri would be the, obviously Zolani Tete is the logical choice to go after next. Now, after the fight, now Inoue signed with Top Rank, and which I think is a good move. I hate it, but I think it's a good move, and I'll tell you why I hate it. Because you have he'll be the undisputed champion because I think he'll fight Tete, but Luis Neri, who's also lurking in the shadows over there, who's a dynamite fighter. Yeah, man, they're on different sides of the street. You'll never see that fight.
Well, here's another thing too. Like, no top-ranked fighter will ever be in a tournament. Bob hates tournaments. So,
and I get it from a business standpoint, whatever. But man, I love the tournament format because anything can happen. Whether it was at Boxino or whether it was this. I mean, this has got to be the greatest tournament in the history of boxing.
Yeah.
No questions asked. Give me a better one. Where they had all the titles on the line.
And I like the single elimination. That Super 6 they had on Showtime.
That was so weird, man.
That thing lasted like 10
soccer format.
Lasted like 10 years, man.
It did. Everybody's got to fight each other twice or three times, and then
that thing,
dude.
And because it was so long, there was so many guys got injured and pulled out.
Yeah, it was terrible. That Super 6 was terrible.
It was horrible.
I mean, they had a lot of good guys in it.
Shout out to Andre Ward though for winning it, but
yeah,
like Darrell.
Tony Mantusi, he says Eric is a big fan of Troyanovsky. I am, man. I've always liked that word, Troyanovsky. He beat Cesar Cuenca, TBE. Beat him twice, knocked him out twice. Former TBE.
What's wrong with Troyanovsky?
Like Troyanovsky.
Nothing wrong with him.
Good guy, man. So yeah, man, it's a shame that it comes to an end because, quite honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, they had a lot of trouble with this. They had people threaten to pull out and everything like that, and they had a lot of issues here, man. And I'm just wondering, will there be another one?
I think so.
But if there is, I mean, I'll watch them.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Like I said, the Zone had a great second half of the year with these fights. They got off to a slow start the first 5 or 6 months, but this last 6 months so far, or 5 months, whatever you want to call it, has been great.
Yeah, it really has. It really has. You know who's fallen by the wayside here is Showtime.
Showtime's done.
Showtime's done, son.
They're done.
What are they gonna have on there? Charlo or somebody?
They're
finished, dude.
Yeah, I foresee them pulling out of the boxing business.
Why wouldn't they? I mean, for real, why wouldn't they?
You're
competing. I mean, you're basically competing against Fox. Well,
they won't be able to compete against Fox.
No, they're too big.
Fox is gigantic. Look at the great job Fox is doing.
Yeah, they're doing really well, and they're like a promotion machine. I mean, look what they're doing with the wrestling, with the WWE or whatever. They're promoting the heck out of that thing. So, yeah, man. Now let's see here. On the undercard of that fight was Nordine Ubali, who's a really, really solid fighter, man. versus Takuma Inoue, Inoue's little brother or older brother. I don't know. It's his brother. I don't know if he's older or not. But for the WBC bantamweight title, Nordino Bali wins a unanimous decision over Inoue by the scores of 115, 112, 120, 107, and 117, 110. It was just a matter. I mean, Nordine Ubali does what he does, and he's just a busy fighter. Throws a lot of punches. He doesn't sit still. He throws a lot of punches. He comes forward, and he's technically sound. I mean, the bottom line is the guy is technically sound. And if you want to beat that guy, man, you're going to have to bring something. He throws a lot of shots. So you're definitely going to have to bring something for him. So there you go. All right, Beeb. We got to talk about the big fight this weekend. The KSI versus Logan Paul. Oh, and you know what? Let me tell you what. This was, it's one of those things that hardcore fans hate, but casual fans love. But honestly, it brought a lot of eyes to it. It brings a lot of eyes to the sport. So how can you really hate it? You know what I mean? You can't really hate on this. And those two guys, man, they can promote. Say what you want, man, but they can promote. DAZN, KSI versus Logan Paul. This leads us to our train wreck of the week. And the train wreck of the week, of course, is Jack Reiss. And I'll tell you why here in a second. Over 10,000 people packed the Staples Center to watch two guys make their pro debut. Think about that. When was the last time anybody making a pro debut packed over 10,000 people anywhere? KSI wins a split decision over Logan Paul by the scores of 56-55 for Paul, 57-54, and 56-55 for KSI. The fight was not without controversy, though. Jack Reiss took 2 points away from Logan Paul for hitting KSI when he was down. No warnings, no nothing, just deductions. You can't do that. I mean, I guess officially he can, but you really shouldn't do that. He gave the guy no warning, no nothing. He just took two points away, and it was a nonsense call. It really, and I cannot stand, and if you follow this, you know this about me, I cannot stand Jack Reiss, and have always been critical of him. I think he is the absolute worst ref in the game right now. He always seems like he wants to be the star of the show. He interjects himself way too much in fights, and a good ref should be in the shadows. You shouldn't even know he's in there. You shouldn't even know his name. That's what a good ref is. When you know the ref's name, it's not good. You know what I mean? If you're mentioning the ref during the fight, it's not good. But I think that's what Reese likes. He's like he wants to be in the middle of things. You know, he's always breaking them up when there's nothing to break up. You know what I mean? Where they're, instead of letting them fight out, let's back up, let's do this, and he's always like interjecting himself when he shouldn't be interjecting himself. Let these guys fight. They can't. Nobody paid to see Jack Reiss do a horrible job. Nobody paid to see that. They came to see these two guys fight. Why on earth he took 2 points away from this guy, I have no idea. Ultimately, that cost him the fight. If you look at the scorecards, completely cost him the fight. Jack Reiss is a complete idiot. I mean, he really is. I mean, and I tell you what, if I had a fighter, if I'm a promoter and I had a fighter, there's absolutely no way we fight in the state of California under that guy. And that, with the chance that guy is the ref. Absolutely not. None. I mean, he always finds a way to screw up fights. And I know, I remember like Robert, he always liked Jack Reiss and everything like that. And I hate Jack Reiss, man. He always seems to interject himself in there. That being said, the fight itself was actually entertaining, believe it or not. It was like, listen, man, it was like a tough man contest. Both guys were swinging wild. They didn't really know what they were doing. But say what you want, man. Those two had the courage to get in there and fight. So you got to respect that. A lot of people out there criticize him today, it tarnishes boxing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this and that. Listen, man, how many of you guys got in there and did it? And then how many guys that got in there did it on that level? Listen, the fact is these two guys can promote. That's the way it is. I mean, did you see that stat, Beeb? 20 million subscribers?
Yeah.
That's almost as much as we have. I mean, 20 million subscribers, 5 million on Twitter, 16 million on Instagram or whatever it was. Listen, man, people are watching. So a lot of people dumped on the fight, but let's be honest, man, they brought a lot of new people to the sport last night. Now, listen, are all those people going to stick around? Maybe not, but some will. Bringing more eyes to the sport is never a bad thing, man. This is no different than the All-Star softball game at the MLB All-Star game. When you see, I don't know, Sean Combs coming out, or I don't know, give me another famous person that plays there. I don't know, Mark Wahlberg or somebody, I don't know. It's no different than watching that. Nobody piles on that. If you don't see baseball guys saying, "Oh, this is a mockery of the sport." Mark Wahlberg out there trying to hit something. It's a mockery. You don't see that. You only see it here. You only hear about it here when people are like, "Oh, this is terrible. This is these guys don't know what they're doing." Nobody knows what they're doing when they're first starting out. Nobody knows. The first time you walked into a gym or learned how to fight or something like that, or when somebody tried to show you something, and before you practice it over and over, you look like a moron throwing a punch or trying to dodge a punch. You look like an idiot. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is, man. That's how you learn. And like it or not, man, both these guys trained for it. They came in shape. It wasn't like he didn't come in shape. They looked the part, I can't find too much. Listen, man, if anybody tuned in last night looking for like a Pernell Whitaker type performance, you're not going to get it. I mean, you're not going to get it, But if you tune, what it reminded me of? And I know I'm going to get killed for this. You remember like the Christy Martin days of women boxers? That's what it reminded me of. But they weren't as, they weren't as talented as those ladies were. But, I mean, where you see, like, wild punches coming out of nowhere and they're just swinging for the fences and everything like that. Now, of course, you got people like Clarissa Shields and Christina Hammer and everybody, I mean, who they box better than the men sometimes. But this was like, back in the day, that's what it reminded me of last night. As two guys, to just like a tough man contest. It just had a beef and they were just swinging for the fences. And, I mean, it is what it is. But overall, hey, let me tell you what. I was entertained. I was more entertained with that fight than I was the Billy Joe Saunders fight. So, Beeb, give me your thoughts here.
Interesting thing yesterday. A lot of times I'll take my remote control, and I have that voice control remote control with Xfinity, and I'll just yell. I'll just speak boxing into the remote control, and just so I can see what's going. Even though I can Google the schedule, sometimes I'll just say boxing into the remote control just so I can get like all the fights that are on this week and set my DVR. Interesting thing yesterday, when I did do that yesterday, the Logan Paul KSI fight came up. It had like a big thing. And
it's a big event.
And the thing is my box has, I guess, my Xfinity Box has the YouTube app downloaded on it automatically. So what it did was it had all of the, when you clicked on the Logan Paul icon or whatever, the big image there, it showed all the press conferences, like all of the DAZN material that they posted on YouTube from their channel, the press conferences, the weigh-in, and all that stuff was on there. So I know we talked about this and D-Style talked about this. Imagine if like DAZN was a preloaded app with like an Xfinity receiver or a DirecTV receiver.
Right. That
would get them so much more promotion.
Yeah.
If they were to partner up, and like I told you before, I don't know if I told you before, I think I did. My Netflix is bundled with my cable package because the Netflix app is downloaded on my Xfinity Box. So this fight was so big that when I yelled boxing into my remote control, that this came up over everything. Now, if I was to say boxing during the Canelo-Kovalev fight, that fight didn't come up on my receiver. So no disrespect to Canelo or Kovalev, but this fight, whether you like it or not, was big. CNN was writing articles about it. mainstream websites were writing articles about it that never write articles about boxing. And to be fair, given the amount of experience both guys have, they actually weren't half bad. They really weren't. They weren't any worse than any other, two guys making their pro debut. They weren't any worse than a lot of journeyman fighters that we have that are basically opponents for some of the up and comers.
They're not 6 rounds.
They're not horrible. And Logan Paul has a little bit of skill to him. He has a good jab. That uppercut he landed was a good punch.
Yeah.
And KSI may be a little rough around the edges, but the guy's got a lot of heart. He's in phenomenal shape.
He's athletic, yeah.
He's in incredible shape for a guy that never really done this before.
Well, he was gassed at the end of round 2. You saw him.
Okay,
he was breathing heavy. But no, I mean, to your point, though, he was breathing heavy. He made it to round 6 and won the fight.
And he had
regardless of calls.
He had a great round 5 and 6.
Yeah.
That's heart, folks. That's heart. When you have nothing left in the tank and you can just kick it into second gear with 2 rounds left.
Yeah.
And you're not and you've never really done this before, and you're starting to do this when you're 24, 25-ish. To start this at 24, 25 and be as good as these guys are, you guys can laugh all you want, but I'll be honest with you. Like I said, they didn't look worse than any 2 other journeyman boxers that I've seen.
No.
I've seen worse. Let's just put it that way. I've been to live events, and I've seen a lot worse from guys that have probably been doing it a lot longer than they have. Okay, guys in 4-rounders, and in some of these like smaller cards that I've been to over the years.
Yeah.
These. Look at some of the guys Peter McNeely got in there with. Were these guys any worse than them? Probably not. So I just found it interesting that 2 YouTubers had the biggest fight in the sport of boxing this weekend. There was a lot of other fights going on, and these guys got all the attention over Donaire, over Jamal Herring. Over a lot of fights. And you could argue that this fight got more attention than Canelo's fight did with Kovalev. More people were talking about this fight than were talking about the Kovalev fight. And I'm talking the casual fans, casual sports fans, casual people that never really watch the fights, the mainstream people that never really watch boxing. And I think Sergio Mora said this, or someone during the broadcast said this. They were asking people in the crowd if they've ever been to a boxing match before, or if they follow boxing, or if they watch boxing, and a lot of them said no. This is the first fight I went to. That's a good thing, guys. So now you could say what you want about the undercard, which I didn't think was horrible. I think Billy Joe Saunders kind of saved himself. We'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
With that 11th round stoppage, I thought he finished the fight in style. And that was a good look for Billy Joe Saunders. But now, all these people that never saw Billy Joe Saunders before, and we talked about this before, they got to see Billy Joe Saunders, which was great. This is a guy that fought for the first time in America, and he had no problem fighting on this undercard because at the end of the day, he was concerned about the eyeballs that were going to be on him during this fight. So he put his ego in his back pocket, and he took a back seat to 2 YouTubers. Devin Haney did the same thing.
Same thing.
So if these guys have no problem with it, then I don't think anyone else should.
How would you like to be a fighter on the undercard of McGregor Floyd? Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, people are watching. I mean, it's a huge deal. Both of those guys had, listen, we'll talk about them in a minute, but they both had the opportunity to really put some eyes on them.
Yeah.
And whether they did or didn't, I mean, that's totally on them. But hey, they had the opportunity.
Yeah, and once again, not to beat a dead horse, but the DAZN broadcast team really, really crapped to the bed yesterday. They're horrible. Sitting there listening.
You know what?
Sitting there listening to Sergio Mora and and Chris Mannix try to argue about legitimizing the franchise belt, and no disrespect to Devin Haney, but again, he did not beat someone for that title. It was given to him. So we you know, for Sergio Mora to not acknowledge that and try to defend that was ridiculous. And here's another thing that I hate. The going into the corners. I know we talked about this. The going into the corners between rounds. You know, imagine, you know, going to work and you're having a bad day, just like these guys. Like, you go into a corner of a fight of a trainer, of a fighter who's getting his ass kicked, he's losing really bad, and he's kind of scrambling, trying to, you know, rally his fighter, and then you got someone sticking a mic in your face when you're really in the heat of battle here, trying to get something going. Imagine going to work one day and you're under the gun, you're trying to meet a deadline or something, and then you got someone coming up to you asking you, you know, you got to meet this deadline. You're not really doing a good job. I don't think you're going to make it. What is your plan to meet this deadline? You'd be like, get the fuck out of my face. Let me do my job.
Right.
So that the last thing you want to have is someone standing over your shoulder bothering you when you're in a stressful situation trying to get a job done. So that aggravates me. And I know a lot of other networks do it, but DAZN does it too much. And they do it at the worst times.
That's all I want is, yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry. And
I think one of the trainers declined to have them come in the corner and interview them during one of the fights. I forget which fight it was, but they declined it. They didn't want to have someone come in their corner and talk to them while they were while they were training and, you know, trying to work the corner. And that like, imagine any other job. Like, you're a construction worker and you're trying to build something and you got a jackhammer going like this and you got someone coming over your shoulder. Wow, that's pretty hard doing that jackhammer. How do you do that? That's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm trying to do my job. Right. Imagine a surgeon operating on somebody and then they have someone with a mic. You know, this is one of the most complicated surgeries that you've ever had to complete. This guy's really in rough shape. How are you going to save his life?
Right.
It's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm working. I know I'm being a little bit over the top here, but it's the same thing like everyone else. When you're trying to do your job and you're trying to do it right, you don't want someone bothering you while you're doing it. You need to be focused. So, and all the time when they're doing it, you can see that it's an uncomfortable moment for the trainer. So I mean, I just think they should put a stop to it. It aggravates me.
I tell you what, yeah. I mean, last thing, I mean, this girl goes in the corner, you know, she's dressed to the nines. It's all I need is some hot chick in the corner asking you questions while you're trying to do your job. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. And she asks such meaningless questions.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the football halftime when they interview the losing coach at halftime. What do you guys need to do to get ahead? They're losing like 40-0. What do you think? Just get out of my face.
Someone in the chat says, don't spend so much time knocking commentators. Okay.
He says, I've listened to your live stream. Oh, how dare you.
Once again,
disrespectful.
Once again, this is an opinion show.
Right.
We're never not going to voice our opinion.
Right.
So if your opinion is different than our opinion, then so be it. If you like the commentators, you like the commentators. We don't subscribe to groupthink here. We're not going to, this isn't an echo chamber. Okay? If Eric likes something and I don't like something, we're going to disagree. If you guys like something and we don't like it, we're going to disagree. It's just, we don't like the DAZN commentators. And every time they say stupid things, we're going to say they said stupid things. That's the
way it goes.
That's our show. It's our opinion. This is an opinion show and we're going to voice our opinions. So stop telling us what we can say and what we can't say because it's not going to work. We're still going to say it. Every time there's a DAZN card and I'm listening to that girl go in the corners asking stupid questions, every time I hear Sergio Mora sit there try to say that the franchise belt is good for boxing, I'm just going to say he's wrong. That's my right to do that.
Just like it's their right to say it. I mean, it is what it is.
Disrespectful it is. Now, again, if you're going to personalize this, then you're taking in a direction that it shouldn't be taken in. Like, if we're saying that what someone says is totally incredulous and we don't agree with it, that's our opinion. Did we call Sergio Mora names? Are we saying that he's a bad person? Are we smearing him? Are we character assassinating him? No, we're not. Are we defaming his character? No. We just don't think he's a good commentator. That's it. Nothing wrong with that.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, speaking of the zone announcers, I mean, and of course, we've talked about them. They did their usual lousy job last night. But the worst was the first 15 minutes of the broadcast. Beeb, did you catch this at all? They brought these guys out here, and I don't know if they were YouTube stars or what, but they were dropping F-bombs left and right like it was their job.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it either, man. I'm thinking to myself, what a great representation.
I don't like it.
Way to keep it professional. I had my son in the room watching this because I figure, watching sports on TV should be fairly appropriate to watch.
Yeah.
And it's like these guys are just like dropping it left and right, man. I'm like, who are these people? Why? What are they doing? Be More Scientific said, I'd rather hear you talk about the fights. We are talking about the fights. Don't worry about it.
Be more,
get your wish. Don't worry
be
about
more
it.
scientific. We just broke down like 3 fights. Again, if cover your ears when we talk about the commentators. Just cover your ears. Just don't listen.
He's got a crush on Sergio, man.
If you like Sergio Mora, if you're a fan, if you have like an autographed glove of his in your house, whatever, that's cool, brother. If you got a Sergio Mora poster, if you got a Ring magazine with Sergio Mora on the cover, and you got it like in cellophane at your house, it's fine.
It's all good.
But when we talk about the commentators, if you don't like it, just cover your ears.
It's all good, man.
Just cover your ears. Well, we're being defensive because you're being offensive. Don't.
Now we're being childish.
Have
you listened to our show at all? Of course, we're going to be childish.
Again, you're trying to make this something it's not. Like you're getting so offended because you got a man crush on Sergio Mora. That's fine. I think Sergio Mora is going to be okay. He's probably making good money over there. He doesn't need you to defend him. He's fine. He'll be okay. I'm sure he has friggin' lawyers.
All right, let's talk about the undercard here, which, on paper, we had 2 showcase fights. We had two squash matches with Devin Haney and Billy Joe Saunders. Didn't quite turn out like that, though. Let's talk about Devin Haney here versus Alfredo Santiago for the WBC lightweight title that he didn't win. Devin Haney wins a unanimous decision over Santiago. Scores were 120 to 107 across the board. I'll be honest, man. I thought Santiago put up a good fight. I thought he confused Haney at times, and overall, I thought he did a good job. But, that being said, Haney's just a solid fighter. I gave Santiago a couple of rounds, but I'm not that pressed about the decision. He obviously won. It wasn't close. But Haney looked good. I thought it was the right type of fight for him. You're used to seeing Haney in blowout fights, and again, not every fight is going to be like that for him. So this was good. This was good for him. That guy was rangy. That guy had a fast right hand. So he was really mobile. He did a good job, man. I thought he did a real good job in that fight, man. What were your thoughts on him, Beeb?
Well, I'm going to say something that my old compatriot used to say, my old contemporary when I did the Rope Dope radio show, Ashy Knuckles, a.k.a. Joshua Jernigan. He said, this is boxing. It's not a video game. But, people get hit. And if you're expecting Devin Haney to go through a fight without ever getting hit, then I think you're asking too much. The guy won every single round on my card, probably won every single round on everyone's card at Press Row, plus the 2-point round. Did he get hit with a right hand every now and then? Yeah. But the thing was when Santiago landed the right hand, Devin Haney made the adjustment. It wasn't like Santiago was putting shots together. It wasn't like he was gaining momentum. He was turning the fight. He was winning rounds. He wasn't hurting Haney. So if you want like this to be like the Matrix and Devin Haney doesn't get touched and he's like, he's invincible, he's infallible. Fighters aren't infallible. It's like I said, Ashy Knuckles, shout out to you, Joshua Jernigan. It's not a video game, it's a boxing match. So yeah, he got hit a few times. Yeah, you're not gonna knock everybody out. Santiago could fight a bit. He wasn't a chump. He wasn't a chump, He came to win. And because he came to win, he went the distance. Because he tried every round to win. Came forward, but he just didn't have the ability and the quickness to keep up with Haney. So he landed a right hand now and then, but he never really landed it flush. Haney rolled a lot of them. He rolled a lot of them. He rolled a lot of them out, and he saw them coming. The big difference here was the speed of hand and foot of Haney, and you could tell that there was a separation here of skills. Now, did you want Haney to knock Santiago out? Did you think he was going to knock Santiago out? I thought he was after that fifth round. It looked like Santiago was probably going to be done, but credit to him. He came back. He hung in there. But he didn't win any rounds. So the guy pitched a shutout. So you got to give him an A for his performance.
I thought he looked good, yeah.
He got all the questions right. He won every round.
What else can you ask? I mean,
Passed the test with flying colors.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't give him every round. I think I gave Santiago two rounds, maybe three rounds. Right. But it's still a runaway win. Wow. It's still a runaway win. And I told you today, I was like, and I posted this on Twitter last night. I said, I can't wait to see how many people say that Devin Haney got exposed tonight, And, they're out there. It's like, Haney couldn't do anything. This guy's a bum, and Haney couldn't handle him, blah, blah, blah. Come on, man. All right, let's talk about Billy Joe Saunders versus Marcelo Casares for the WBO super middleweight title. Billy Joe Saunders wins a TKO over Marcelo Casares in the 11th round. I don't know. I didn't see the scorecards. I wasn't that interested to look at them, but this fight may have been fairly close. I don't know if Saunders was behind or not.
It was about even.
Yeah, and I don't know what the scorecards read or anything like that before the knockout, but Saunders, I tell you what, man, he didn't look overly impressive here and admitted it after the fight was over. He called out Canelo but claimed, he didn't deserve it off of that performance, and he's right, he didn't. I was really impressed with Marcelo Casares. I thought he did a really good job of bringing the fight to him and everything like that. I thought, again, man, he did a great job in there. But Billy Joe Saunders, I mean, credit to him in a tough fight. He was able to put him out in the 11th, And I mean, it's hey, that's what champs do, man. It just is. What were your thoughts on Saunders and maybe a potential Canelo fight there?
Well, Saunders was sick. They said during the leading up to this fight. He said he had some issues. He was a little congested in his chest, whatever. First time fight in the United States, time zone difference. Got off to a good start, but Saunders tends to coast in the middle rounds in a lot of his fights too. He gets complacent. I think the big thing with Saunders is he needs to know that there's a threat in front of him.
Yeah.
For him to bring his A game. Now, does that really mean anything in the grand scheme of things? Does it sound like an excuse? Yeah. Is it a good excuse? Probably not. But it is what it is. I know we say that a lot, but it's applicable here. It is what it is. I mean, Billy Joe Saunders, I think, combination of things happened. I mean, I think he was a little bit under the weather. Put a little bit of pressure on himself, trying to look overly impressive, possibly.
Yeah.
Started out fast, which he normally doesn't do. And because he started out fast, maybe because he was sick, got a little bit winded in the middle rounds. Second wind kicked in, and he got the job done in the 11th. I mean, am I going to look at this fight and say, oh, he has no chance against Canelo Alvarez? Absolutely not, because he'll be better prepared for Canelo Alvarez. And he won't fight the same way. Billy Joe Saunders is a very versatile guy. He's a very skilled guy. And he showed you that in this fight. He made the adjustments, and he got Casares out of there. The boxing scene scorecard had Saunders up 96-94. So if you want to be fair here, it could have been 96-94 either way at the time of the stoppage, or it could have been 95-95.
Yeah.
Probably it was 95-95 to be perfectly honest with you. Or Saunders,
it was close, man. I didn't expect it to be that close.
Yeah. And I didn't expect it to be that close either. Like, Casares did go on a little mini run there, like from rounds like 6 to 9, or you could even argue that maybe he won round. You could argue he won 5 through 8, and maybe Saunders won round 9 or there was a couple rounds you could have probably that could have gone either way, but at any rate, the fight was close and it was more competitive than we anticipated. But with that being said, if people are expecting that, this version of Saunders will show up against Andre, or will show up against Canelo, or will show up against Callum Smith, I just don't see it happening. So credit to Billy Joe Saunders that got the job done. His corner was a little bit concerned. They thought the fight was hanging in the balance, and they told him, "Hey, you gotta pick it up. You gotta win all the rounds that are left in this fight, or we're gonna have some problems here." And he responded. So credit to him. I didn't think the fight was horrible. I didn't think it was a bad fight. I think it was kind of interesting that I think Billy Joe Saunders looked like $1 million the first 4 or 5 rounds, and then Casares looked like $1 million. In the middle rounds that he did well in. So both guys had their moments. As far as this being a snoozer or a stinker, I thought it was.
I enjoyed it.
I really thought it had good ebb and flow to it. Yeah. I didn't really think. I was hearing all this. I actually watched the fight today because I'm not gonna lie to you. I was exhausted last night and I fell asleep and I woke up just in time for the main event. And shout out to the Zone and shout out to ESPN Plus for giving me the opportunity to be able to watch these fights on archive the next day.
It's great.
Which is beautiful. So shout out to them for that. But I was hearing all this talk about how both fights were horrible. This card sucked, and the Billy Joe Saunders fight was a stinker. And I'm not going to say that the Haney fight and the Saunders fights were barn burners. They weren't fight of the year candidates, but they weren't horrible fights either. They were decent fights.
Yeah,
they were pretty entertaining fights. I mean,
I thought so. Yeah,
it's like anything else. You watch a basketball game, you watch a football game, you watch any type of sport. You're not always going to see a highlight reel type event. Sometimes there's going to be some lulls. Some fights will be better than others. But as far as these fights being horrible, I've seen worse. I don't think this was a bad event at all, to be perfectly honest with you.
No, I thought they did a good job. I really do. I thought they did a good job with the event. I mean, hey, listen, anytime you get 10,000 people in the Staples Center, that's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the numbers come out on this and see where it lands. They did 1.3 million in pay-per-view buys the last time they fought.
Yeah.
The numbers have got to be through the roof on this fight. And listen, I mean, how can you, again, man, it's
like I said.
Yeah, I don't know.
And like you said, all the Zone needs to do is partner up with a company like Comcast or DirecTV or Dish.
You know what? Let me tell you this. What I'm frustrated with. Why doesn't ESPN Plus do that? They've already got it on DirecTV and like everybody else. Why not do that? Yeah. You already got that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't get it. All right, before we break down the next fights, let's go to the phones here. Area code 805. 805, you're live.
Notch. What's up, Notch?
Hey.
Nacho.
What's going on, dude?
What's going on?
What's happening, man?
Much. As far as the card last night, I'm going to talk about the other fights first, because the main event to me, I had legitimately no interest. I just pretty much knew it was a freak show that they were putting on in order to try and, make money off of both of those guys. So I really didn't have a rooting interest in watching that at all. As far as the Haney fight, he didn't look all that impressive, and he did have a very tall, awkward opponent, kind of like the same way that Teofimo Lopez had a few months ago when he fought that tall Japanese fighter who was very difficult for him as well in that fight. The only thing I don't understand was why the WBC sanctioned Santiago to be the opponent, considering that he really hadn't fought anybody on his ledger that was worth a damn, except for beating a washed-up Jonathan Barrios last year. And there was a report that Peter Petrov, who has been a pretty solid contender at 135 the last few years was being talked about as his opponent, but the WBC, for some mysterious reason, refused to sanction him as the opponent, even though he was rated in the top 15 at lightweight. And I found that interesting that they went out of their way in order to approve Santiago, but not approve Petrov. And I think Petrov would have made for a more entertaining fight than Santiago did. Santiago looked like a guy who had no idea what to do once Haney neutralized his offense and basically just boxed from the outside. He really didn't know what to do. He got embarrassed there, and he pretty much lost. I think I might have given him one round, but overall it pretty much looked like a glorified sparring session in Haney's favor. So, Haney won, and that's what was intended. I'm just curious, at what point are they finally going to start asking for legit opponents? I mean, this is just getting to the point where it's at some point the kid has to prove that he can actually fight. 24 opponents and not one where you can legitimately say that he was tested at some point or another. I mean, come on. This is getting into bordering on the ridiculous as far as, him being coddled and protected. And as far as Billy Joe Saunders, my God, talk about a sleep-inducing fight. That fight was so tough to watch. It just looked like Saunders. Saunders is the type of guy that, unless he has a big-name fighter who he feels is a threat in there, he's not going to go and fight as hard as he should. He pretty much just coasted that entire fight until the 11th round, when he finally decided to put his foot on the gas and take the guy out. And he made excuses about having shown up only a few days before, the actual fight, and how he was sick and blah, blah, blah. I just honestly think that Saunders is just his own worst enemy at this point. There's really no other way to put it. He doesn't dedicate himself to staying in the gym and staying close to weight. He makes all these stupid mistakes to shoot himself in the foot, and then he's out here begging for fights against guys who legitimately have no reason to fight him. Canelo and Golovkin honestly have no intention and no reason to fight him, as long as he keeps putting performances like that out there for the public to see. There's no demand and there's no reason to make those fights. So if he's happy fighting nobodies and getting paid for it, then good for him. But see him get in there against a big name fighter, unless it's somebody like Demetrius Andrade or Charlo, someone who is in the same boat as he is, someone that needs a big name on the other side in order to, market himself as a legitimate contender at 160 or 168. So
Notch,
it'll be interesting to see.
Notch,
Yeah.
you want not to interrupt you, but you want to know something? Let me just say something real quick. I think he looked just vulnerable enough that he may have won a ticket to the Canelo sweepstakes.
I think so too.
I'll be honest with you. He looked just vulnerable enough.
Yep.
Now Canelo can pick up a legitimate 168-pound title. He's got the WBO light heavyweight title. I'm sure Paco Varacel would love to have him fight for the 168 version of his WBO title as well.
Yep.
So don't be surprised. I got a sneaky suspicion that Billy Joe Saunders may be the next Canelo fight. In my opinion, I think he looked just vulnerable enough, just like Kovalev looked just vulnerable enough against Yard in that 8th and 9th round, or that 8th round at least, 7th and 8th round I should say, excuse me, where he got a ticket to the Canelo sweepstakes. Billy Joe Saunders just got a ticket to the Canelo sweepstakes, in my opinion. I may be wrong, but I don't think I am.
It's a big fight.
Well, you know what? I mean, I agree from the standpoint that I wouldn't be surprised if he's mentioned as, a possible opponent. I don't know. If he picks him, hey, more power to Canelo as far as taking on another tricky, slippery boxer that he's not necessarily going to look good against. But I mean, hey, if he ends up getting he gets the title shot at 68 against Saunders, then I mean, hey, it is what it is. He's his own boss, and he can pick whoever he wants to fight, and if Saunders gets the call, then that's who it is. Ideally, I'd rather see him fight, Callum Smith or someone else at 168. But if it's Saunders, then you guys might be right. It probably ends up being. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Saunders.
Yeah.
At this point, for sure. I mean, he's probably going to be one of the leading names on his list for sure. As far as the top rank, the main event was entertaining. I thought, Roach went out there and he did the best he could, considering that he was the shorter, smaller guy against Herring. I thought Herring didn't fight. He wasn't on point like the way he had been lately. He did just enough to win that fight, in my opinion. I had him winning by 7-5, and then the knockdown, had him on my card. I had him winning by 115, 112. I'm curious to see. I think the same way that you guys just talked about Saunders being vulnerable enough for Canelo to take, I wonder if, after seeing this performance last night, if Herring didn't just get himself a ticket to possibly fight Miguel Burchell in his next fight, because Burchell might have seen that performance and said, you know what, this guy's not all that great, and I think I can take him. So I think that might be a legit possibility now. It might be a unification, especially considering since both guys are with top rank. That might be a possibility now that, he looked pretty average last night in that fight. So I'd be curious to see what happens with that one. And then the other fight with Pulev and Booker, oh my God, that was just like watching Saunders. That was sleep-inducing as well. That was tough to watch. Pulev just looked like he was going through the motions, just trying to, go out there and kind of stay busy while he waits for whatever happens between the winner of Ruiz and Joshua, because apparently he's the mandatory for the IBF. So it'll be interesting to see when he possibly gets the shot at that belt after that fight. But I'm not all that impressed with Pulev. I think he's just a big guy who, he's got a nice record, but in reality, he's kind of average at best. So, I mean, if he fights either Ruiz or Joshua, I think he'd still get beat pretty easily. I don't see him being, like, much of a challenge to whoever the winner ends up being from them. And the Inoue Donaire fight, man, I got to eat a little bit of crow. I honestly thought that Inoue was going to blast Nonito out of there in about 6, maybe 7 rounds. But a lot of props to Donaire, because he went out there and he left it all out there and he fought his ass off, and he took it to Inoue and made him look almost human for once. I mean, I had never seen anybody, go out there and attack Inoue and cut him and hurt him the way Donaire had. And then Inoue was able to show a whole lot of toughness and heart that we hadn't seen before in any of his fights. And the way he went out there and he knocked down Donaire in the 11th, I honestly thought he was going to take him out. And, man, Donaire just went out there and, sucked it up and made it through and ended up getting, to the end of the fight. It was a hell of a fight. I think that might be a fight of the year candidate for sure. And I'm curious to see I'm sure Donaire, if he decides to come back, he'll probably get another big name fight against somebody at 18. Who that is, I'm not sure. And then as far as Inoue, it kind of sucks that he ended up getting injured so bad, because now his return is probably going to be pushed back because of those fractures he has in his nose and orbital bone and those cuts. So I'll be interested to see who he faces next at 18. I mean, ideally, I'd like to see him face maybe Bali, who beat his brother on the undercard. I think that's a guy who is just dangerous enough, but he's not on Luis Neri or Teddy's punching power level to go after Inoue. So I'd like to see that fight next when Inoue finally does come back. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Nacho. Good call as usual.
A
All right, guys.
A lot of letdowns for Nacho this week.
Yeah, I know it was. You know what?
He wasn't a happy camper this weekend.
You know what's funny is he said he referenced Devin Haney and Alfredo Santiago, and he says how could it possibly be that Santiago was rated the number one, the mandatory, and not
He's right.
Peter Petrov? He's 100% right, but it's the WBC. How is it possible that Haney has that title without fighting for it?
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
Yeah.
Haney's got the title, didn't beat anybody for it. How is that possible? You know what I mean?
No, you're right.
And then you're surprised that they make up a number one contender. Well, of course they're going to make up. They're going to do what they want.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, Eric. You know, anyone that they want to be champions, anyone they want to be champions, is going to be champions. So that's why I'm saying it's like these champions. Some of these champions are basically just made by the WBC. They're just making.
Well, sure.
They're just making champions.
We're going to get a WBC belt pretty soon, I think.
Yeah.
Area code 516. I think New York, I believe. 516. You're live.
Yeah, Jesse Rican. What's up, Beeb?
Jesse, what's up, brother? How you been?
I've been good, man. Like I say every time I call in, man, Beeb, you showed me the ropes. I'm always grateful to be your protege.
Oh, thank you, man.
On the boxing.
I appreciate that.
KSI versus Logan Paul. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that people are talking about it's a mockery. Tyson Fury gave it, and Beeb, you know a bit of my backstory.
Yeah.
You know, like I used to interview battle rappers.
Yeah, I used to love that. I love that.
I stepped in and
that shit was
and
wild, man.
I stepped in and I battle rapped myself. And when I had like a million views off the shit, off just interviewing them. But then when I stepped in and battle rap, people were making fun of me, and I'm like, look, I'm just trying to help the sport. And that's what I think what KSI and Logan Paul did yesterday. I wouldn't have known them if it wasn't for my son that told me, oh, these guys are fighting. But I mean, look, man, I think it was a great fight. I never heard of a 2-point deduction. But I was telling my son, because my son doesn't watch boxing, I'm like, he hit him when he was down, and Roy Jones actually got disqualified for that. So maybe, I don't know. What do you guys feel about the 2-point deduction?
Thought it was nonsense. I thought it was unwarranted. Nonsense. I think Jack Reiss, again, does what he does. He tries to interject himself, tries to be the hero.
But he hit him let me just say this. He did hit him when he was down.
Did you see the shot when he was down? Did you see the shot when he was down, though? It wasn't a big shot. It was like a follow-up shot.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like he looked. It didn't even look that intense. It didn't even look intentional. We are not supposed to hold either. Listen, the bottom line is it did not warrant 2 points. Bottom line.
I think he should have warned him first.
100% he should have warned him first.
Yeah. Now, if the punch that he landed when he was down knocked him out, then obviously you'd have to disqualify him. But it wasn't really hurt by that punch. He got right up. It had no impact on the fight.
No.
So you just give him a warning. It was in the heat of the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Am I the only boxing fan that was actually entertained by the fight?
I thought it was entertaining.
I didn't think it was a bad fight at all. I mean,
no.
When we first talked about the fight earlier in the show, I said, given the experience that these guys have, they're actually not bad. Given they don't have an extensive amateur background. They're better than some journeymen that I've seen. Like I said, so
right.
They didn't make a mockery of themselves. They didn't embarrass themselves last night. Let's just keep it real. They did a good job under the circumstances, given the experience that they both had. And Logan Paul's got a little bit of skill to him, I think.
Now, here's my second question too, and this is what I'm telling my son. now they fought at what 195, so they're heavyweight, right?
They're
Or
cruiserweight.
light heavy?
205 limit, I think. Wasn't it
No,
a 205 limit?
200-pound limit. They fought
200-pound limit. That's right.
They fought at cruiserweight. KSI weighed 193. Logan Paul weighed 199.
Yeah.
It's cruiserweight.
Now, what about Chris Arreola versus Logan Paul? Chris Arreola is going to knock him out, right?
Yeah, he would knock him out.
Yeah, I mean, that's any amateur. Let me tell you, we were talking about this last night. Any amateur out there would have taken care of these two guys. Listen, I mean, Logan Paul's got a little bit of skill. I got it. But, I mean, come on. Anybody who does this for any, length of time or anything like that, they murk either one of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I love what they did for the sport.
Yeah.
I'm like Tyson Fury. I don't know if you guys saw the Tyson Fury interview. The interviewer tried to bait him into saying that it's a bad match, and Tyson Fury's like, look, I'm for whatever pushes the culture forward, you know. And I think they did a great job. I just think it was bad refereeing.
It was horrible refereeing.
And
horrible.
But I'm sorry, I forgot. I don't know your name. I know Beeb. What's your name?
Eric.
Hey, Eric. Joe. People said Joe Torres is a horrible referee, but at the same time, Joe Torres led on Juan Mata versus Manny after 3 knockdowns, which a lot of people wouldn't have done. So you can't really go at a referee like that. You know what I mean?
Well,
sometimes they make bad calls, sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Jack Reiss seems to continually make bad calls, though.
I mean,
Lawrence Cole's another bad referee.
I get it.
Yep.
Yeah. When guys have a pattern,
Right.
When guys have a pattern, Jesse, the problem with Jack Reiss is he interjects himself too much. He's an overly officious referee. He doesn't let guys fight inside. He's too much a part of the fight, like Eric said. I agree with Eric 110% on that. And when you're becoming more, when the fight becomes more about you than it does the fighters, like Eric said, then you're overstepping your boundaries a little bit. You're becoming too big of an impact on the fight. The fighters should determine the outcome of the fight, not the referee.
If it was up to me, I'll have who's the guy with the mustache? The New York guy with the mustache.
Steve Smoger's the best referee. I love Steve Smoger. I love Steve Smoger.
If it was up to me, Steve Smoger will be refereeing every. Steve Smoger will referee every fight. Every big fight for me because I think he's the best. I do agree with you guys, and I also, Beeb, once again, call me, bro. I forget you don't have my number no more, bro. What the hell?
Twitter him and get it.
Steve Smoger. Steve Smoger is the best referee.
Yeah.
Beeb is the best boxing analyst. He protéged me. And can you keep me on the line while I listen to you guys?
Absolutely, man. I'll put you on now. Thank you so much for the call, and we'll put you on hold so you can listen. Good stuff. I do agree with him. Beeb is a quality analyst. Yeah, there you go. Good guy. I'd rather have him on the zone than some other people we saw in there last night. But whatever.
And I'm gonna DM you, Jesse. I'll give you my number so you can hook back up with me. The dude changes phones more than fucking Hugh Hefner changed his wives.
He's like one of the Sopranos, always got a different phone or something like that. The people on the wire.
Changes phones a lot, bro. Can't keep up with a dude that keeps changing his phone number, man.
So, all right. So let's talk about, let's see here, the ESPN Plus fight. Jamel Herring versus Lamont Roach. Jamel Herring wins a unanimous decision over Lamont Roach by the scores of 115, 113, 117, 111 twice. It's a close fight. It's a good fight, but Herring pulls it off. Beeb, tell us about it.
Well, Roach is more of the counterpuncher style type fighter. He likes to lay back a lot. And Herring, as we all know, is the volume guy. He's the grinder. He's the guy that likes to put in those workman-like performances. Maybe not the most durable guy in the world, but he's in phenomenal shape. And I think he was getting off first. He was dictating the pace of this fight for most of the fight. But Roach had a couple good rounds in the end. And in the 12th round, Roach landed a big left hook that actually wobbled Herring and made him do the chicken dance. So Roach was just came with a little bit too little too late. And Herring already had the early rounds in the bank because he was outworking and getting off first and out punching Roach, who was laying back a little bit too much, trying to suck Herring into traps, but he couldn't pick up on Herring's rhythm. I think Herring was just getting off first. Roach couldn't pick up on the timing of Herring, and he was getting outworked in the early rounds, and there was too many rounds in the bank, so he couldn't come back from it. But he finished strong, but it just wasn't enough. But Herring wins a decision. 117, 111 sounds about right, and he did his job last night, and he won convincingly. Regardless of the little bit of a couple rounds that Roach did win, but it just wasn't enough, like I said.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, and somebody in the JC in the chat just says he favors Burchelt over Herring. I completely agree with that. I think Burchelt.
I do as well.
Beats him pretty handily.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a close fight by any stretch. And I like Jamel Herring, man, but yeah, Burchelt's an animal.
But the thing about Jamel Herring is he's the type of guy that gets the most out of his ability. Like every ounce of ability that he has in his body naturally, he maximizes that. So there's no quit in him. He's just got a lot of heart, and he just really, really has a great attitude for the sport of boxing. He's been through a lot in his life, and he kind of translates that over into boxing. In other words, he's able to achieve a lot of things and overcome a lot of adversity in his personal life. So I think he approaches boxing the same way, and because of that, I think that helps him be as successful as he is, and I think it helped make him a world champion as well.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the undercard here. Kubrat Pulev versus Riddell Booker. Pulev wins the unanimous decision over Booker by the scores of 99-91, 98-92 twice. Beeb, nothing about Pulev excites me, and I cannot believe that he's the number one ranked guy by the IBF. Obviously I can believe it.
Well,
but Jesus,
I've been telling you about these. I've been telling you about these sanctioning bodies ranking systems.
Oh my God!
What I think they do is they take the names of all the fighters in a hat, and throw them in a hat, and they just stop picking them out. And whatever they pick is number one, and the next guy number two, number three. There's no rhyme or reason to these ranking systems.
I know I've asked you this question about 1 million times before, but is it the IBO? That's the computer system?
Well, they use a computer system too, but their rankings are still jacked up, even with the computer. So maybe they need an upgrade up with their computer.
I was going to say, maybe I can help them out. And how do you determine who's the number one guy there? Is it just by winning percentages? I guess there's an algorithm.
They must type in the statistics of the fighters and
say, hey, this is a quality win, this not so much.
Well, again, a computer said that Rocky Marciano beats Muhammad Ali. I don't see that.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's
a tough one to swallow. Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
No, I don't either. But you know what? Nobody knows what that computer said. They had about 14 different outcomes for that fight. They filmed about 14 different outcomes, they said, for that fight. But I'm trying to think.
I can't see an outcome that has Rocky Marciano beating Ali. I just can't.
I can't either. Jeez.
With all due respect to Rocky Marciano, I'm probably going to get death threats from Rocky Marciano fans.
You're right there in Boston.
Yeah, he's from Brockton, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, Beeb going way against the grain.
Hey, we got Hagler though. We got Hagler.
Got Hagler. Yeah. And who's the other one you had? Wasn't I don't know. Yeah, you guys have had a few of them, right? From Boston.
A few.
Yeah. Cincinnati. I mean, we got Ezra Charles, Aaron Pryor, greats. Adrian Bronner, Rasheed Warren. I mean, it's Title Town. It's not Title.
Yeah.
It's Title Town for a reason, baby.
Yeah.
Logan Paul. He's from Ohio.
He lost.
Sean Porter from Ohio.
He lost.
Who?
Both of them.
You mean the referee cost him the fight? Is that what you consider a loss?
Oh, it's gotta call it like it is, brother.
We got the Bengals. I mean, we got the Browns. The Browns and Ohio State's going to be the number one team. You know, I wouldn't. I guess I'll leave the Bengals on the sideline. I don't know, but we'll get the number one draft pick. We'll win that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Area code 706. 706. You're live.
Hi, Jason.
What's going on, guys?
What's happening?
How are you?
Shut up, Beeb. Better stop that, Beeb.
I'm saying hi. How you doing?
Wow.
What's up with the hostility?
What's up, Beeb? Look at Beeb. Hey, Jason. Look at that little asshole. Fucking Eric,
Wow.
you claiming Porter now, dude? You claiming him from Ohio now? What's up with that? Ever since that Spence performance, you turned that around, dude? Come on now.
I didn't even hear what you
No
said.
consistency, huh?
What did he say?
You're claiming Porter now since you fucking you're claiming Porter now since he had a fucking close fight with Spence.
I'm not going to claim Porter. I'm not going to claim Porter.
Porter says he's from Las Vegas now.
Porter's always been from Las Vegas.
He disowned Ohio, man.
Yeah, about that.
What's up with your
Yeah, well, that's smart. I mean,
him.
shit. Everybody that lives in Ohio full time is always taking the L, so it's probably better to move out of there, right? So he was the smart one. He's on fucking Fox doing TV shows and shit. He was just on Fox with your boy Eubank. Eubank and Chris Eubank Jr. were in studio. Did you see that, Eric?
Last time I saw Sean Porter, he was getting beat up by Errol Spence.
Did you see the Eubank segment from PBC Inside Boxing?
No, I don't watch that stuff, man. No.
I
watch
DVR'd
that
it.
nonsense.
On YouTube. Watch it, dude.
I DVR'd it.
Did you watch it, Beeb?
Son.
That was funny.
I DVR'd it.
Yeah.
He ain't never watched. He ain't never watched
I think
this
the
stay on the
American
DVR, son. He ain't never watched it.
Right after the show, I promise you, I'll go search for it.
So B, right after B watches Temptation Island, he's gonna put that
the
on.
American audience needs that Eubank, dude. Wilder and Ortiz, they posted that fucking face-off clip the other day on YouTube. It's like got 500,000 views, so it's got a lot of demand for that rematch. But you were saying when they released the numbers are kind of out, dude. They were like number one on Google search with like 2 million searches. The night Canelo fought, he was number one with 1 million, or no, number two with 1 million searches. And that night when Canelo fought, UFC was number one that night. They had 2 million. So last night, Logan and KSI were number one with 2 million searches. And Spence versus Porter, when they fought on Google Trends, they were like number 3 with 500K. So, what that tells me is all week during fight week, they had all these fucking altercations. Like that was all set up like WWE. That's what boxing needs more of, UFC has a lot of fucking drama, fight week drama too. Boxing, the fight week has become so fucking boring. All they do is these fighter media meetings and shit. People want to see fighters in each other's faces talking shit. Like that's what you really need, people don't want to see you sitting on fucking stage with Bob Arum's old ass fucking talking, thanking sponsors. People don't want to see that shit. That's what UFC has changed. Their fight weeks are more exciting. Boxing's fight weeks are so predictable. One day there's a fucking media day. One day there's a press conference. You're like fucking thanking sponsors, thanking the network and your promoter. All that shit kills the live, I think boxing needs to change that. That's what they did good on the zone thing. They were just talking shit all week, getting in each other's faces. Did you see the views they have, dude? Like their highlight video has like 10 million views. That's fucking insane.
It's crazy.
10 million views.
Those guys got a lot of
even though they didn't
subscribers,
sell
man.
a lot of tickets.
They got a lot of. Did you say they didn't sell it? They didn't sell a lot of tickets. They sold over 10,000.
10K tickets. 10K tickets. Or 12K sold. I guess they'll tell you how many comps there are. Spence versus, they had 12K in the building, which is kind of surprising to me. They should have had more. Spence versus Porter had like 16 or 17,000 in the building, So, but I didn't think Floyd versus Conor was a bad fight. I thought it was interesting, and this fight was interesting too. But the difference was all the boxing media was shitting on Floyd versus Conor, and they were fucking promoting this fight for the zone. Like it felt like Pugmire and Mannix were going out of their way, like shilling for this fight. As almost they were getting paid for that. So that was kind of strange to me, And Jake Paul is now saying boxing's all fucking fixed. Joe Murkowski was hanging out with KSI. It was fucking rigged. It was funny. I thought
from the naked eye, I thought Jake kind of won, dude. I thought he landed the cleaner shots. What did you think, Eric?
I thought so too. I guess
The naked eye.
If I was, my scorecard's got to get thrown out because I scored it wrong. I didn't realize it was a knockdown there. Now I know he got knocked down in that fourth round, but I didn't realize they called it. I thought they waved it off.
That's an 8-8. That's an 8-8.
It's an 8-8 round, so my scorecard goes out the window. But yeah, I thought he did.
Have you noticed in LA whenever there's have you noticed in LA whenever there's a big event, how come only Jack Reiss gets the fucking assignment? How come they don't let other referees assign? What's
Jack
up with that?
Reiss.
Have you noticed that?
He's their guy. I mean, he's their guy, no question.
I have noticed that, and I'm not a big fan of it.
No.
I heard something like a while back, like the Latino referees that I saw the undercard. All the referees were Latinos on the ref, and they'd never make it to main event. I heard they sued the California Commission for discrimination or something a while back, but I never heard an update on that. That is always strange, because in Vegas they fucking change referees every fight. They don't give it to Kenny Bayless every time. They put Bird, they put Weeks. Every big fight is like rotated, right?
Yeah,
that's what they do. LA is like just Jack Reiss. That's why that guy has such a big fucking ego. He thinks he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
There's some kind of shady shit going on there with the commissioner. With what's that guy's name? Andy Foster, the fucking commissioner. I'm gonna look into that shit, and I'm gonna call fucking CBT lawyers. They're gonna look into that shit.
Yeah, you do. Hey, let me know how it goes.
I'll be right behind you, Jason. I'll be right behind you, Jason.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can be the paralegal, Beeb. Just give us a rate, all right? We got you.
That's right.
We'll put you on the parole. But dude, he's always in bad position, and then he fucking overcompensates to make up for that call. So he was behind. He was behind Logan or somebody. That's what he always overcompensates. Always. That's fucking bullshit, man. And even fucking Wilder Fury, like even Spence was a reporter. He didn't call low blows. He didn't call him the holding. I don't know why, man.
I don't know why they didn't put that fight in Vegas.
Because he calls him,
I don't know why they put that fight in Vegas. If they put that fight in Vegas, they would have had instant replay. They would have had instant replay if they put that fight in Vegas.
Yeah, but the crowd wouldn't have been as big on Vegas because all their crowd is in LA. All those kids are from LA. All the celebs are in LA.
Okay.
They just drive down the street and come to Staples Center. So
I'll take your word for it.
That's why I like Kenny Bayless, man. Kenny Bayless is the best because he fucking fixes the action right away and he gets out of the way. He doesn't fucking sit there and gives you a fucking speech,
Isn't that Floyd's bodyguard, Kenny Bayless?
Tony Reese he's done more Manny fights, so I don't know what you're talking about. Manny loves Kenny Bayless. After Manny got fucked up by Jeff Horn, you know when Manny got fucked up by Jeff Horn, who he called after for his next fight with Lucas Matisse in Malaysia? No. You want to guess who the ref was for that fight?
Who?
Just take a guess. Kenny Bayless. Because he said he's the best ref. So everybody thinks he's the best ref, dude.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, but he's just a clean ref. He doesn't allow anybody to do dirty things. I think that's the best ref. Jack Reiss, man. Haven't you heard media members say Jack Reiss is really good? Why is everybody praising him?
I don't know.
How does he get all this praise?
In all fairness, a lot of people think he's really good. I can't stand him. I don't like
even the Karen Tate chick.
Yeah, I don't like when the referee gets like I said, when I know the referee's name, that ain't good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lawrence Cole might be better than Jack Reiss. Even though he's horrible, he might be better because he doesn't interfere as much. He just lets you fight. At least he lets you do that.
Yeah, he let you.
This guy was like the fucking.
Do you see the fight what he did when it was what fight was
Toledo?
That? No, it was not only that fight. It was
Toledo
another.
Loma?
No, he did Azuma Nelson versus Abner Mares. I think and Abner Mares landed like 3,000 low blows on Azuma Nelson, and he landed a low blow on Azuma Nelson, and I think he knocked him out with a low blow or something like that. It was crazy.
Beeb, I don't know what you saw last night with Haney, man. He looked fucking like average to me. Like I don't know if he's he's a good fighter, but I just thought his feet looked very uneducated. What did you think about his footwork, Eric? His feet looked.
I thought he looked good, man. He was tested. He was good, man. He was tested. That guy was tough. He wasn't just going to go in there.
Who was that guy?
He's a fighter, man. He wasn't going to go in there and lay down. He was a good fighter, man.
What do you think Tank would have done with that same guy? Just be honest, though.
Well, now nothing because now the guy's been on a stage
Come on.
Dude,
stop it. What do you think Tank would have done with Haney's opponent last night? Be honest. Come on, for once.
I don't think he would have finished him.
What? Come on, dude.
No, I don't think he would have finished him.
Open all night. Tank would have destroyed that guy.
Why
that guy
does
was
Tank
like open all night. Come on.
All right, let me ask you a question. And this is good that we got you on the line for this. And let's go into our next thing here.
You don't think Gamboa is better than the guy? You don't
Quiet
think
down,
Gamboa is better than the guy Haney fought last night? Isn't Gamboa
Beeb,
better?
all right, just be
Isn't
quiet
Gamboa
for just
better,
shut up for a minute. Beeb.
All right.
All right, so Tim Bradley made some comments on Gervonta Davis on the ESPN broadcast. He said that Gervonta, shut up. Tim Bradley said that Gervonta Davis is talented, but doesn't fight anybody. He then criticized his upcoming opponent, Yuriorkis Gamboa. I mean, Beeb, is that fair or not fair?
Bradley's the biggest coon, dude. Bradley's the biggest coon. He's a coon, for real.
Oh, my God. He can't even shut up for like 5 seconds.
Just kidding.
Not even 5 seconds. That's why we don't leave you on here.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you, Jason. Let me ask you. Is he, I mean, is the criticism fair? Is the criticism fair?
I don't think so. Let me tell you why. Because Bradley is the same fucking guy that sits there and fucking sucks on Fury's balls when he's fighting Schwartz and fucking Wallen back to back. Okay, that's why they're paying Fury fucking $12 million to fight these guys.
Who's he fought?
How can you even open your mouth to talk shit about?
Well, who's he fought? I mean, give me a top level guy that he's fought.
Fury. He fought Pedraza. He fought Cuellar. These are fucking world champs, former world champs. These aren't fucking bums. Like Cuellar is a fucking solid ass fighter, dude. And Pedraza, look at what Tank did to Pedraza when he was like 22 years old. He was undefeated champ. Like people don't like. Didn't he? He offered Farmer $2 million. I wish he would have taken the fight. I mean, also Gamboa is no fucking chump. He's on a 4-fight win streak. I think he's got like 3 KOs and 1 like different. So he's coming on like a 4-fight win streak. Okay.
Do you think
Just
that?
like
I mean,
people said,
let me ask you. Let me ask you.
Go
Do
ahead.
you think that Gamboa is a worthy opponent for Tank?
I don't think he's a bad opponent. Like
Do you think he's a worthy?
I don't think he's worse than Schwartz or Wallen.
That means
I think he's better than Schwartz, Wallen, and the guy. I think he's better than the
Forget
guy.
about Tyson Fury. Forget about Tyson Fury. We're not even talking about him. But we're talking about Tank.
Why? Because I want to compare the competition of the boxing.
He's a heavyweight.
Landscape. I mean, I'm not
He's a
gonna be,
heavyweight.
Like, harder on.
He's a heavyweight.
Fuck all
Doesn't
that,
matter.
Dude. I mean, look at who. Listen. Look at who Shakur and Ryan are fighting. They fought Joey Gonzalez and Romero Duno. Gamboa is better than both those fucking.
So you're okay. You're okay with Tank
Gamboa's
fighting.
the former unified champ.
You're okay with Tank fighting lesser competition.
I wanted farm.
Because other people do it.
Then who? But who is he going to fight? He offered Farmer $2 million. He said no. Who's he going to fight?
He couldn't move up to fight. Who? He can move up. Can he move up in weight?
He's moving up to 135. This is his first fight at 135.
Great that he can fight Devin Haney next, right?
Yeah, why not? I would love that fight. But do you think Haney?
Everybody would love that fight. I don't think Tank's going to take that fight.
Tank would fucking break his face. What are you talking about? He looked like shit last night against a bum. Tank would knock out both those deals, dude. Come on.
Beeb, what are your thoughts on this?
Like who did he fight last night? Dude, Tank knocked out everybody. Who has Tank not knocked out?
Hang on, let me put you on hold. You can't shut up. Let me put you on hold. Beeb, what are your thoughts on what Tim Bradley said? Was it harsh? It was kind of harsh.
It was kind of harsh.
Kind of harsh, right?
I don't know why he would just come out and say it. It was just kind of weird how he just come right out and say it. Because there's a lot of fighters you could say that about, but why all of a sudden did he just pick Tank to say it about? So
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know what his beef is with Tank, but he does have a point. He does have a point, and he talks about Yuriorkis Gamboa and everything like that, and Gamboa has seen better days for sure. Yeah. And I don't care what kind of win streak he's on. He's not gonna last in there with him. He's not. I mean, his best days are pretty much behind him, I think.
And what's that fight going to be at 135?
Yeah, it's supposed to be his first debut at 135.
Yeah, Gamboa's not great at 135. So.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. He does have a point. And when is he going to fight somebody, that you can look to like a showcase type of fight? I know Showtime loves him. Showtime wants him. They want to see him on pay-per-view. That's the guy they want to see on pay-per-view. He does draw in a lot of stars. He does draw in crowds and everything like that. But, that being said, you got to, sooner or later, they're not, people aren't going to accept, you fighting Gamboa, you fighting, guys that are past their prime, put it that way.
Yeah.
Guys that have,
I mean, we've both said we'd like to see Tank in there with a guy like Burchelt or something like that, and we never got to see it. So,
yeah,
It is what it is. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, so
Like, why doesn't he fight a guy like Comey?
yeah, well, I mean, can he though? I mean, like I said, Comey's with Arum. Comey's with Top Rank.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of options for him out there. I mean, I don't know that there really is. I mean, at 135, like I said, I mean, you got Lomachenko up there. He's not fighting him. You got Devin Haney. He's on the wrong side of the street. He's got a lot of Richard Comey again and Lopez. They're on the wrong side of the street.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, if I wouldn't be surprised if Lopez iced Tank, man.
Teofimo?
Yeah.
Like Lopez iced that last bum he fought.
I think
like
Tank
Lopez iced that last bum he fought.
I think Tank would beat Lopez.
You think Tank would beat Lopez? I don't know.
Easily.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Easily. Come on. What was I going to say? Is Haney going to fight Luke? Hey, can I jump in? Come on, let me jump in, dude.
It's not like you've had enough time here,
next or no?
What's that?
I never get time, dude. Is Haney fighting Luke next? Since they have the same promoter, right? Are they fighting next or no? What's their excuse? Is Tank blocking that fight too, or what?
Tank's not blocking any fights. He's just not fighting.
So is the Haney fighting Luke next or no?
I don't know. I mean, I think he smashes Luke Campbell.
Hello? Really? Is he fighting him next? They have the same promoter. Do you want that fight next?
I don't know. Haney just fought yesterday. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know this or not, but Haney just fought yesterday. So I'm not privy to his contract talks or anything like that. I have no idea. I don't know. Who's Davis going to fight next? Is he going to fight? Is he going to fight somebody in his prime or what?
He's got a fight in December 28th. He's got a fight lined up. But I'm saying you're saying that Tank is ducking Haney.
Who
Tank
has a fight lined up?
On December 28th. He's in training camp.
Tank.
He's fighting a former fucking unified champion. What do you mean?
Who are you talking about?
He's fighting.
You're talking about Gamboa. The Gamboa fight. Is that what you're talking about?
Let me finish.
You're not saying anything. You're talking, but you're not saying anything.
He's got a fight on December 28th. What other fight, dude? And you said that Tank is ducking Haney. So is Haney going to go?
I did not say Tank was.
No,
I did not say Tank was ducking Haney. Never said that.
Well, that's what you're implying.
I'm not implying anything like that. I'm just implying that maybe Tank should fight somebody. That's all.
Well, what I'm trying to prove to you is, in the meanwhile, Tank is fighting better guys. Gamboa is better than the bum Haney fought last night. That's a fucking fact.
No, it's not. No, yes, it can be argued. Yes, it can be argued.
Yes, it is.
Because when was Gamboa's best? When was Gamboa's best fights? Years ago, son. Years ago.
Well, when were
years ago?
When were Linares' best fight? When were Linares' best fight? Come on, people. The Ring magazine put Linares on the fucking pound for pound list, rehabilitated him after he fought fucking Krolla and shit.
This is what he does when he can't win an argument. When he can't win an argument, hey, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about that? He pulls up Tyson Fury.
He's the king of
in the arguments. All right, man, we got to go. He pulls up Tyson Fury in the arguments.
He's the king of whataboutism.
Right. We're talking about Tank David. What about Fury? What about Fury? He doesn't fight anybody. He fights Schwartz.
You could be talking about Christmas. What about Halloween? What about Easter? What about Easter?
What about Easter?
What about 4th of July?
What about Easter? It's a religious holiday. What about that? It's religious.
What about Easter? They should open presents on Easter too. You should get gifts on Easter. The Easter eggs aren't enough. You should get presents too.
That's right. 773, you're live.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing tonight?
Good, man. Who we speaking with?
This is Kevin.
Kevin, hey, what's up, man?
Kevin,
good to
what's
hear
up?
from you.
How you doing, K-Dog?
K-Dog.
Pretty good, man. I just got to come in and talk about those fights, that Logan Paul and KSI fight. Man, Jack Reiss. I want to ask you guys a question. How many Jewish boxers are there? You know a lot of Jewish boxers? You think of any off the top of your head?
Dana Rosenblatt.
Dana Rosenblatt was the last Jewish boxer I remember.
Benny.
The other guy there, the guy that has the promotional company now, Demetrius Salita. He's Jewish.
Wasn't Benny Leonard Jewish?
Yeah, Benny Leonard was Jewish. Demetrius Salita was the last Jewish fighter.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And Yuri Foreman was Jewish too.
There's
Yuri Foreman.
So it's safe to say there's not too many. There's not too many littered.
There's not a lot.
Yeah.
There's not a lot.
No.
No.
Wonder why.
No. So my question to you guys is, why are there so many Jews in these prominent positions? Jack Reiss, Harold Letterman, Julie Letterman, Al Bernstein, Max Kellerman, Teddy Atlas. I mean, the list just goes on. Steve Weisfeld, all these judges, refs, analysts, media members. The sport is filled with Jewish people. But there's no good Jewish boxers. There hasn't been a Jewish champion since the 1940s, Max Baer. But
probably because they're smart not to get into the sport like that. Take shots to the head, you know.
And this is the point I'm making. The point I'm making is Jack Reiss made that fight about himself. Jack Reiss made that fight about himself. He took a 2-point deduction in a 6-round fight, completely killed the entire fight. To take 2 points away in a 6-round fight, it's overkill. He ruined the fight. He made it about himself. A referee's job, you can see in that. Remember that Ward and Rodriguez fight when he threatened to disqualify Ward and Rodriguez so they wouldn't get their pay. Do you guys remember that debacle?
Oh yeah. He said, if you guys keep following each other, both of you won't get paid. It's not your decision to make who if they get paid or not. And then he goes, well, I can't.
That's the type of guy Jack Reiss is.
Yeah, he's a goofball.
Exactly.
I had no idea Jack Reiss was Jewish. It never even crossed my mind. I don't know. It never crossed my mind.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
there's so many Jews in boxing, so many prominent Jews in boxing, but there's no elite Jewish fighters. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's such a small minority of people that's always in these positions of power. It's not even in boxing. It's scattered throughout all of society. And that's why I brought it up. I wouldn't bring it up, but that's the type of guy Jack Reiss is. He made the fight about himself, and he totally killed the fight. I mean, that dude was out of there. KSI was out of there. He landed that beautiful uppercut. The dude was on a wobbler leg. It's his first professional fight, and you're gonna penalize him like that. He was fighting off instinct in that moment, and it killed the entire fucking momentum of the fight. That dude was out of there. You saw him. He stood up, and he couldn't even stand up. He was on baby legs. He's on their legs. But I had to get that off my chest, that Jewish thing, because I keep noticing it. They always got to interject. They got to make it about themselves. Max Kellerman, Teddy Atlas, they're all cut from that same cloth. They never fought a day in their life, but they always get rewarded in these positions of power, whether it be refereeing, whether it be in the media, whether it be commentary, whatever it is. It's ridiculous, man. I hope Andre Ward, I don't agree with him with that much. I don't agree with him with a lot of stuff. But at least he's been there and done that. At least he's been in the ring, put it on the line. Guys like that, those other guys who I mentioned, they haven't done that. But what do you guys thought on that?
Well, let me let you go because we got to get the news and everything like that, and I'll give you my thoughts here. So hang on one second.
I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I don't know, man. What's odd is like I
never realized that though.
I had no idea that Jack Reiss was Jewish. I had no idea Teddy Atlas from Mexico. I wouldn't have crossed my mind. It wouldn't even cross my mind to even think about it.
Yeah.
Or ask or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. He's taking a lot of heat in the chat, though. I tell you that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of speechless. Beeb, you?
Yeah, I'm lost for words. I guess Teddy Atlas' father's Jewish, but his mother's Irish. So Teddy Atlas is half Jewish.
All right. How do you? I don't know. Like, I mean, how would anybody know? Like, you're Catholic or Protestant or anything?
Well, Jewish isn't just a religion. I guess I don't know. It's also a nationality, not just a religion. There are some Jewish people that don't practice Judaism.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know much about it. I mean, I just like I couldn't tell. Like I would have never known that if you didn't tell me like Jack Reiss was Jewish, I would have never. It didn't cross my mind last night. Like Jews always do the fights like this. I would never like. It would just never like crossed my mind.
I'm not touching that one.
Yeah, I'm good with that too, man.
I got sponsors.
You got sponsors. Yeah. I guess there are places we won't go on this show. I don't know.
Yeah, we won't take it there.
He had such a good call last week. That was an odd call. It was kind of entertaining though.
It
was kind of entertaining, but it was an odd call.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I like how his voice. I like his voice.
You like the Chicago accent?
Yeah, I like the accent.
You know whose voice I liked last night? Was that chick who sang the national anthem for the U.S.?
Please, Harry.
She had a great voice. I watched that thing about 50 times.
You're gonna get us in trouble.
Slow motion, buddy. That's what
I did. Thank God for the DVR, huh?
Yeah, thank God for the DVR. Exactly. Rewind 30 seconds. All right, let's get to the upcoming fights here. November 14th on DAZN, ringtv.com, also on ringtv.com. Carlos Morales versus Mercito Gesta, 10 rounds lightweights. Charles Huerta versus Jonathan Oquendo, 10 rounds junior lightweights. Wow, this must be a Golden Boy special.
GB special.
Pretty much. November 15th from Liverpool, England on ESPN Plus. Rocky Fielding versus Abdallah Pazi Wapazi. That's his name. Abdallah Pazi Wapazi. 10 rounds, super middleweights. My man, Martin Murray versus Shadan Janajin. 8 rounds, super middleweights. Your boy, Terry Flanagan versus Jairo Duran. 8 rounds, junior welterweights. I got to be honest, this is not a good card.
Not a good card, huh?
Not a good card at all. No. Yeah, doesn't do it for me.
Oh, wow.
November 15th, we were just talking about Showtime, Beeb. We were just talking about Showtime before we came on the air, and I guess during the air. But I tell you what, this is a good card here. Showtime, November 15th. Eric Vega Ortiz versus Alberto Palmetta, 10 rounds welterweights. Marcos Esquerdo versus Joseph George, 10 rounds light heavyweights. Jesus. That's what they're putting on Showtime. That. Let that sink in for a minute. That card is going to be on Showtime.
And the Wilder fight's on Fox pay-per-view, right?
Yeah. That card should have been on like UFC Fight Pass or something like that. That's the kind of card I would say, UFC Fight or Ring TV or
so much for the loyalty to Showtime. I guess he doesn't like how they commentate his fights now, so now he's not going to go back on there.
There it is. All right, here, Melbourne, Australia on ESPN Plus. Paul Gallen versus Barry Hall, 4 rounds heavyweights. That's the headliner. How about that? It might be the swing bout because the title fight, Andrew Maloney versus Elton Dari, 12 rounds for the vacant WBA interim junior bantamweight title. Interim junior get out of here. Salt Lake City, November 15th on UFC Fight Pass. Junior Fa or Junior? Is it Junior Fa or Fay?
Junior
Fa.
Junior Fa.
I was wrong on both counts. Junior Fa versus Devin Vargas, 10 rounds heavyweights. Not a bad card. Hemi Ahio versus Joshua Tuft, 10 rounds heavyweights.
A lot of tough names this week, huh?
Jesus, you're telling me.
She got an interpreter this week.
I really should have. I should have kept that hooked on phonics thing and go over that course again. So
Got a speak and spell in the closet?
I'm gonna need one. I'll tell you what. You remember those?
Yeah.
November 16th, Glasgow, Scotland on ESPN Plus. Lee McGregor versus Kash Farouk, 12 rounds for McGregor's Commonwealth British Bantamweight title. Keenan Smith versus the dreaded TBA. Jesus, these cards are terrible. Beeb, what's going on here? We're paying for this mess.
I was just complimenting how the cards have been great these last couple months, and now we got.
I guess, and there's a lot of fights, but I'm not
Yeah.
watching any of them. November 16th from Mexico. Golden Boy on Facebook. This couldn't even make the zone. It's on Facebook Watch. Pablo Cesar Cano versus Roberto Ortiz, 10 rounds junior welterweights. Ricardo Sandoval versus Gilberto Gonzalez, 10 rounds lightweights. My goodness. Make it end. Make it end. And that's it.
What a
Thank
shame.
God. My goodness.
That was painful.
That really was. I mean, the worst part is there's a truckload of fights, but
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Just one good fight a week. That's all. That's all I want. All right, let's talk about the news and rumors here. Beeb, Andre Ward addressed the Canelo situation. And what is our dream, Beeb? That Ward comes out of retirement, fights Canelo for the biggest fight in the game.
I wouldn't hate that fight, but I'm kind of glad that Ward's sticking to his guns a little bit.
Dare you?
He's got a nice gig over there at ESPN. Got a beautiful family. I'm a big fan of Andre Ward, man. I like Andre Ward.
I like Andre Ward too, but I like him in the ring. I don't care about the person Andre Ward. I want to see him fight.
I want to see him have a great life. Have a little compassion for people, unlike some others.
Some other host on this network. Yeah, so Andre Ward came out on ESPN and said he will not come out of retirement for a Canelo fight. Man, the fight could be worth millions. But
he's got a lot of nagging injuries, Andre Ward, though. The guy's got the shoulder, the knee. I
don't know. But hey, he's sticking to his principles. He's staying retired. He said just not going to do it. So
he's not going to do it.
So what do you get? What do you want, man? What do you want? He just ruined it. He ruined it for everybody. Thank you, Andre Ward.
Can't be mad at him.
I'm completely mad at him. You kidding me? Completely mad at him.
Gotta cut him some slack.
Cut him nothing. Harrison versus Charlo is set for December 21st. Harrison versus Charlo seems to be set for December 21st. It was announced by Charlo on social media. So Tony Harrison, Jamal Charlo, going to go at it for the rematch.
Finally, huh?
Yeah, well, they had it set, and I guess Harrison got hurt, right?
Yeah, I heard I think he hurt his ankle or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, some type of injury in the ankle.
This next piece of news, man. My man, the main man, Beeb, your boy. I am so excited about this. It was announced this week by Matchroom. Beeb, this week, your boy, you're responsible for him. That's right. You were the one that claimed you were on the Mexican bandwagon now. So this makes you responsible for him.
Canelo bandwagon.
I've babysitted this guy long enough. And I was a fan of his father's, not him. Daniel Jacobs versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been set for December 20th in Phoenix. How much faith do they have in Chavez Jr.? Gabe Rosado has been tagged just in case anything happens to Chavez Jr. to go in against Danny Jacobs. So they're like having this guy train and everything like that in case anything happens to Chavez Jr. Anything at all. Anything crazy. Like, he fails a drug test or doesn't want anybody collecting his urine for a sample, or he comes in 30 pounds overweight. Anything crazy that's, may happen. Yeah, they got to stand by. So there will be a fight that night in Phoenix.
Is Eubank Korobov on that card, or is that on another card?
I don't know.
You heard about Chris Eubank Jr. versus Korobov?
I did. That's
a tough fight for Eubank.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight, man. Yeah. I tell you what, man, he's got a lot of power that Eubank does. And hopefully he's training, and he looked good in his last fight. He looked good. He's been inactive, though.
What are the odds Chavez Jr. tests positive for a diuretic in this fight? But I will say this: he does look slim already. He looks in good shape right now.
Yeah, well, weed will do that to you. I don't know. Weed or cocaine, I don't know what he does. I don't know what he does when he's hanging out by himself.
Wow.
That's right. So I went there.
You went there, okay.
I'll do it, son. I don't like to do it, but I'll do it.
You'll do it. Someone's got to do it.
Why not? No Omar Figueroa was arrested for street racing, son. Street racing.
Jesus Christ.
Sometimes you got to race, I guess. I don't know.
What's happening here?
He was arrested on Wednesday for street racing in his hometown of Weslaco, Texas. What are you doing?
How old is he?
Old enough to know better. It's not like he's 16.
And he's got kids at the house, and what an example.
I think I'll race him. What's wrong with you, son?
I stopped doing stuff like that when I was like 22, 21, 22.
Street racing a guy.
I don't get it.
El Mario says, what a gangster. Exactly.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
Dwight Ritchie. Real sad story here. Dwight Ritchie was an Australian boxer that was sparring Michael Zarafa. You remember Michael Zarafa? He's the one that beat, what's his face? Jeff Horn. And so they were sparring. He was sparring Zarafa. Ritchie was sparring Zarafa, and he got hit with a body shot. Dwight Ritchie got hit with a body shot, walked back to his corner, and just collapsed. This was in sparring, son. He walked back to his corner and just collapsed. I think he was ranked like number 9 by the IBF or something like that. But he just walked back to his corner and just collapsed, man.
What happened to him?
He died. He passed away, man.
From a sparring session?
He said it was a freak accident. I don't know what happened. Other than they said he walked back to his corner and just collapsed.
Wow.
From a body shot. How crazy is that? It's got to be a freak accident because he was, he's a fighter. So, I mean, like, he was helping this guy spar and everything like that. And I think he was number 9 by the IBF, so he's been in quite a few fights. So, wow, man. That was crazy.
I'm perplexed right now.
Yeah, right?
So what happens now? Because that's like that's not really sanctioned or anything like that. Is that manslaughter?
That's a good question. I wouldn't think so. But I don't know. Isn't it with manslaughter you don't have to have intent.
No, it's an accidental death.
Right. I don't know. That's a great question.
Because it's not sanctioned. They didn't sign contracts or anything. So.
And you can't say, well, it wasn't. I mean, clearly this is why it was caused. Sparring. It's not like
unless they can say it was a pre-existing injury that caused it.
Even still, if he wasn't getting hit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sad though.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody's getting charged, but that is an interesting point. I mean, could he be charged? I don't know.
I'm gonna research that more.
Yeah. Don Fraser passes away. International Boxing Hall of Famer Don Fraser, who worked in numerous roles in boxing: promoter, matchmaker, manager, publicist, writer, cornerman, did it all. Died on October 30th at his home in Toluca Lake, California. Sad. But I didn't know who he was, so I don't know. Have you heard of him before?
No.
He used to work at Ring Magazine, from what I understand. So.
What's his name one more time? Say that one more time.
Don Fraser?
I don't know.
I don't know him either.
No.
I don't know. But he was a big deal in boxing. Hey, listen, if you're in the Hall of Fame, you're a big deal.
How old was he?
I don't know. He was pretty old, though.
Yeah, he's pretty old.
Yeah. It wasn't like he was a young man or anything. He was like way up there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never heard of him.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, guys, that'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1 and find our YouTube channel at ringsidereporterlive.com. On Twitter, I'm at ringside73, and we will see you next week.